The night the trouble began, the moon hung low and swollen, casting a pale glow over Dustfall Ridge, a town that had always lived by unspoken rules carved from fear and pride. But that night, someone broke one of those rules, and the whole town felt the shift, like a storm brewing far out on the plains. It started with a sound, a single shovel striking dirt, clink, 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 and a woman's trembling voice carried through the wind. "Please, stop doing that forbidden thing," she cried. But the rancher Elias Crowder didn't stop. He kept digging. A rancher with a past he never spoke of, Elias had always been a quiet man, stoic, strong, the kind of rancher who worked from dawn to dusk without complaint. Folks respected him, some feared him, but no one really knew him. But everyone knew her, Mara Lynn, the shy, soft-spoken schoolteacher, who'd lost her husband 2 years prior and had kept to herself ever since. She was beloved by the children, admired by the women, and pitied by the men. And yet on that night, she was standing in the middle of Dustfall Cemetery, tears streaking down her cheeks, pleading with Elias Crowder to stop whatever he was doing. But he didn't. He couldn't. Because he had promised something long ago, something only he and Mara's late husband, Nathan, had known, and promises in the West. They weren't made lightly. The forbidden thing, every town has its legends. Dustfalls was simple. No one was allowed to dig up a grave, not for any reason. Not even the sheriff himself. Not because of spirits or superstition, but because of what had happened 20 years earlier, when grave robbers had unleashed a plague of fear and lawlessness. The town made one rule to keep order: the dead stay buried. Break that rule, and Dustfall Ridge would tear itself apart again. So when word spread that Elias Crowder was digging up Nathan Lynn's grave, the town snapped awake like a rattler. Lights flickered on, doors slammed open. Boots thundered toward the cemetery, and Mara stood at the edge of the grave, whispering through her sobs, "Please, Elias, stop. I can't bear to see you hurt." Elias didn't look up, his jaw clenched, his hands bleeding on the shovel handle. "I'm sorry, Mara," he murmured, voice low and raw, "but your husband made me swear, and I won't break a promise to a dying man." The stampede of rage by the time the sheriff arrived with half the town behind him. Elias had already reached the coffin. The sheriff's face twisted. "Crowder, drop that shovel or I'll throw you in irons." Elias didn't move, didn't blink. Mara stood between him and the crowd, trembling uncontrollably. "Please," she whispered. "He's not trying to dishonor anyone." "There's something you all need to know." "No," someone shouted. "He's breaking the old law. Stop him. He'll doom us all again." Fear had turned neighbor against neighbor, and the sheriff lifted his revolver. "Elias, this is your last warn." A creak cut through the night like the cry of an old ghost. The coffin lid opened. Mara gasped. The crowd froze, and Elias reached inside. What he lifted wasn't a body. It was a wooden lockbox, sealed with wax and carved with strange markings. Gasps rose from the crowd. Someone cursed under their breath. Nathan Lynn Mara's late husband had hidden something in his own grave. Something the town wasn't meant to see, and Elias had sworn to retrieve it the day Nathan died. The meaning behind the promise, Mara covered her mouth, trembling. She knew that box. She'd seen her husband guarding it like a treasure. Elias wiped the dirt from its surface and spoke loudly, clearly, when Nathan was dying. "He made me promise never to let this fall into the wrong hands. He told me Dustfall wasn't safe." The sheriff narrowed his eyes. "What's in the box, Crowder?" Elias hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a stack of documents, maps, deeds, cords, and a letter. Elias handed the letter to Mara. Her hand shook as she unfolded it. After reading only the first few lines, she collapsed to her knees, a sob tearing from her chest. "No." "Oh God, Nathan." The sheriff snatched the papers. His eyes widened. They were proof real. It's undeniable proof that the town mayor and several councilmen had been stealing land, forging property deeds, and covering it up for years. Nathan had discovered it, but before he could expose them, it was poisoned to keep him silent forever. The lockbox was his final insurance. The grave was the only place they would never look. The town turned mad, the crowd turned from furious. Too horrified, men muttered. Women clutched their children. Rumors exploded through the air like wildfire. The mayor had Nathan killed. We've been robbed blind for years. Those snakes, those devils, those cowards. Hatred erupted. Voices rose. The entire town felt betrayed. Doors slammed. Windows shattered. Dustfall Ridge boiled over with rage. Mara grabbed Elias's arm as chaos spread. "Thank you," she whispered, voice breaking. "Nathan trusted you more than anyone. Now I see why." But the sheriff raised his gun again. "Crowder," he said, "digging up a grave is still a crime." Elias didn't flinch. "I'll face whatever punishment you think is right, Sheriff. I kept my promise." The sheriff held his stare. For a long, tense moment, then he holstered his gun. "You did what had to be done," he said softly. "And if it weren't for you, this town would have rotted from inside out." The storm breaks, and healing begins by dawn. The mayor and councilmen were arrested. The stolen lands were restored. Dustfall Ridge shaken, bruised, but freer began mending itself. And Mara. She found herself standing outside Elias Crowder's ranch 3 days later. Clutching the last letter Nathan had written, she handed it to Elias. "My husband said you were the best man he ever knew," she whispered, "and that if I ever felt lost, I could trust you." Elias swallowed hard, looking away. "You got a good heart, Mara. You deserve peace. Nathan wanted that for you. And you?" she asked gently. "What do you deserve?" He didn't answer, but she stepped closer. "I think Nathan knew that too." Her hand slipped into his, and for the first time since the night the town went mad, Elias Crowder let himself breathe. The message of the STOR, we the people of Dustfall. Ridge learned something powerful. Sometimes doing the forbidden thing is what saves everyone. Sometimes rules protect lies. Is refusing to let the truth stay buried. Elias kept his promise. Truth she deserved. And Dustfall Ridge rose from the ashes stronger, wiser, and finally free.